Welcome to the Serenity Resource Connector Community Corner Live Forum. I'm your host, Winsome, and we continue our journey of spotlighting meaningful stories that build stronger families, stronger communities, and a stronger Jamaica. Just days after Father's Day, we're pausing to honor two fathers who lead with courage, serve with purpose, and inspire the next generation by simply being present. This evening's theme, Beyond Father's Day, honoring fathers who lead and inspire youth, celebrates stories of mentorship, resilience, and generational impact in action. So we're joined by two remarkable families who reflect this spirit in powerful ways. We have Claverton Brown, recipient of the Sam Sharp Award for Exemplary Fathers with a Disability, and his daughter, Clevena Brown, a youth leader in her own right, who helped share his story with the nation. We're also joined by Michael Thomas, a Justice of the Peace and Marcus Garvey Award for Community Leadership back in 2022. I just learned this before coming on live. He's joined by his sons, Dr. Kenyata Thomas and David Thomas, who continue to uplift Jamaica through service and nation building. And you'll hear more about that in a little while. So let me bring on Claverton and Clevena Brown. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
And if you are accustomed to this space, you should be familiar with Clevena's face, our youth forum host.
Yes.
All right. So let's get the title in. All right, so before we get the conversation rolling this evening, as part of the storytelling journey, we're shining the spotlight on this father-daughter who both captured the hearts of some of our Jamaicans. They're at the Eternal Father Awards, and here is how they did that.
My name is Clevena Brown, and I am nominating my father, Claverton Brown, for the Sam Sharp Award for Exemplary Fathers with a Disability. Before 2011, this is who my father was. Always on his feet, always providing, but life changed in an instant. After a spinal injury left him paralyzed from the waist down, everything changed except his heart. I was just 8 years old, and I remember feeling like my entire world flipped upside down. But somehow my dad found strength in the rubble. He spent nearly 2 years at Mona Rehabilitation just learning how to live again. And when he came back to Clarendon, he didn't come back defeated. He came back determined to take care of his little girl, determined not to let his condition define his self-worth. Through sheer willpower, my father made sure my CXC fees were covered. I didn't just sit the exams, I passed with flying colors and got into an excellent high school. But what means most to me is not the money, it's the man, my number one fan. The one who told me and continued to tells me I can do anything. The one who shows up even when people doubt him. Even in a wheelchair, my father stands taller than most. He runs a business. He employs and mentors young people in our community. He lifts others up while the world underestimates him. And when I went to university, he and my mom were my rock. I graduated without a single student debt loan because of their sacrifice. Sadly, I lost my mother in August just before I graduated. Now it's just me and Daddy, and once again, he's the rock I lean on. People often see his wheelchair before they see him, but I see the real him. I see a superhero, a provider, a rock, a warrior who carries a whole community and his daughter on his back. My father is the smartest, most determined, giving, caring man I know, and I love him deeply. And this award would mean the world to us. Thank you for giving me the chance to honor the man who never stopped fighting for me on the hospital bed, who never stopped fighting for me in high school, throughout university, and even to this present day. Thank you for giving me the chance to honor him while he showed up for me when the world expected him not to. Thank you.
Thank you, Clevena. Because
Yes.
that video did not just tell a story, it led to a national recognition. Special thanks to the Eternal Father Award founder and president Anna Smith and her team for graciously consenting for the next clip that you'll see to be included in this feature. Kudos to the team on this phenomenal mission. It's just simply amazing what is being done and the connection to who we are as Jamaicans. Anna Smith and team, kudos. Continue doing what you're doing and continue to inspire others. Now, let's take a look at what Anna Smith had to say before the awards on Sunday.
What makes this year unique? So there is a special gentleman who's in a wheelchair, right? He was nominated in the category Sam Sharp,
Yes.
for exemplary fathers with a disability. He was an able-bodied man, and through an injury, he had a spinal injury and became disabled. And his story is one of the most powerful coming out of 2025. His nomination video from his daughter was just simply tear-jerking. You know, you could feel the passion and the pride that she has in her dad. That is my favorite story coming out of 2025. That is what is making 2025 special.
And you've seen the video, and I'm sure you understand what she was talking about. Really powerful, awesome sharing, Clevena. Clever, yes. I understand that you did not see this video until the night of the award.
Not until the night. I was pleasantly surprised.
What did that moment mean to you? What did it feel like seeing the video and then hearing that you are the awardee, Sam Sharp awardee?
Well, I was very excited. And I was overwhelmed with joy to know that that is the way my daughter feels about me. I was overwhelmed. Man, I couldn't stop smiling from ear to ear. I couldn't stop smiling. Yes.
Fantastic. And I mean, who wouldn't, which daddy wouldn't want that kind of gift? And it's an awesome pre-birthday gift because you celebrated your birthday yesterday. Happy belated birthday.
Yes. Big 50.
Big 50.
50, look at that. Amazing. And you just continue to operate gracefully, irrespective of. But what keeps you motivated as a father and a role model, especially while navigating physical challenges?
Well, first of all, is my love for my daughter, right? And I really want to set an example for her, right? So I try to lead by example so that I can set a positive example for her. Sometimes motivate me just to know that I put a smile on her face. Yeah, man, that I'm there to put a smile on her face.
Amazing.
Yes.
And
Which
that's
is
what that is too, right?
I'm sitting there and I'm
For the
smiling for it.
princess. Go ahead, Clevena.
I'm saying he does that very easily. I'm sitting here and I'm smiling already. So
Amazing.
We live like two best friends.
Fantastic. Yes, and that's part of what we are sharing, the power of the bond that you share. All right, we'd love to bring the community in. So let's recognize Marsha Peck. Welcome back. Always tuning in each Thursday and Tuesdays for our youth forum as well. I missed you on Tuesday, Marsha, for our early childhood segment. Greetings to you too, Sir Barnes. Lady Henry Blake, blessings to you. Okay, Clavena's face. Thank you so much. This is how we do it inside this space. So feel free to chime in the comments. If you have a question that you'd want to ask the guest, feel free to ask your questions. As Clever share with us now, what has fatherhood taught you about resilience and faith?
Whenever you come upon challenges, first of all, try to pray, right? And whatever obstacles is in your way, you ask God to open up your knowledge so that you can surmount them. You can go over, or if you can't go over, go straight through the obstacle. Yes, so, whenever obstacle come, you have to persevere and be resilient. Yes, that is what it has taught me.
All right. And I know this wasn't a part of what we were supposed to be talking about, but nothing happens in this space by chance, because I've been a part of the journey, and
Right.
I've seen how you navigate even when you go to the hospital.
Yes.
And it's as if you are in there to do ministry and not one of the patients. Talk to us about that, how you have been able to actually encourage others, even though you yourself is a patient at that time.
Well, you have to try to lead. Sometimes persons out there although you're in a wheelchair, they're in a worse position than you. So you have to try to keep positive and motivate all who is around you. Yeah, man. That is how I feel.
And you've been doing a phenomenal job at that.
Yeah, thanks.
So yes, all of us around able to endorse what Clevena shared, because you have been a super dad, a super husband, a superman in our eyes. So kudos and congratulations again. Well-deserved award. All right, let's get Clevena in the conversation. Clevena, what inspired you to create and submit that video for your father?
Well, what really inspired me is being around him daily. I know my father. I love him. He's an amazing man. And I was thinking to myself, well, what can I do for Father's Day this year? And I was saying, I want to show him a level of appreciation that he probably doesn't get on his day-to-day basis. And I stumbled across the awards, and I was like, whoa, this is a perfect way to highlight my father in a very different way that he's not accustomed to, and to show him that he's recognized by not only myself, but on a national scale at that. And I'm so appreciative of the team that they saw what I see in him, and they're able to select him for that award. So that's what really motivated me.
Awesome. What lessons have you learned from him that continues to guide you along your path?
I love this question. So something that immediately comes to my mind, when I was in high school, I was sitting sexy. There's this time, I don't remember which exam it was, but my father would always tell me, it doesn't matter, it doesn't make sense that you sit down and try to cram everything in your brain half hour before the exam. My father always tells me, if you don't know it the day before, that means I probably did something bad on my end. And he always teaches me to find a moment to be still in yourself, even if that means half hour before, 10 minutes before, when everybody might be scrambling. Clevena, sit down, understand yourself, listen to how you're feeling. I need to be able to communicate and compose myself to go inside that exam and do what I know that I can do. And I've carried that principle throughout me. I'm only 22 right now, but as far as my life is going, I've carried it with me every step of the way. I always, before I'm hosting an event or anything that I'm doing, I find a moment of composure to gather myself and go forth and do what I know that I can do.
Fantastic. And you can do all things through Christ, and through that is encouragement and support. Fantastic. And you continue to represent well, Clevena. And you have demonstrated a passion for youth leadership. And when did you discover that? And how has your relationship with that influenced your voice as a youth leader?
Okay, well, I think I'll take the reverse of the question. So how my father has impacted that, I think he recognized from a young age that I talk a lot. Every time they would get back, my mama would get back a report for me. They would say, "Oh, Clevena is such a lovely girl. She does her work, but she talks a bit too much." That's always feedback on my report card. So I think from a tender age, he realized that type of pattern within me, and later he realized it came out to be a strength.
Yes, and there's a place for it.
There's a place for me to go into the world and just speak and to monetize that. So he's always supported me in every capacity. You notice that I like public speaking. He encourages me. And one of the first instances of him really pushing me towards that, there was a public speaking competition that I would have entered, a 4-H competition I would have entered when I was in prep school. And my father was very supportive of it. And I went ahead, I think it was 2014, and I won for my parish of Clarendon. And I was the public speaking champion for that year. And I went on to nationals to represent my parish. And my father was right behind me all the way, cheering me on and rallying behind me. And another experience I can remember was when I was a childhood host for GenSat Television. You, of course, were on board on that initiative. And my father was supportive all along the way. When I had my shows to go and do, he would support me and tell me I can do it. And every time it airs on the television, he is the first viewer on to support his daughter. So he's really a great father. I could not have asked for a better father. And I give my hats off to him. I don't have one right now, but I would hats off.
Lift your tiara. Fantastic. Awesome. And it's always great to see both of you, always that bond, the love that is there, and just keep the fire burning as you continue. All right. Don't go anywhere. We have another father and his son's coming on now. So let's make way for them and we'll bring you on back for the wrap up in a little while. Thank you. All right. So let's bring on Sir Thomas. All right. We're going to be exploring their story is deeply rooted in service and leadership. And this is a cross generation. So let me bring on the next kings in the generation lineage. All right, so you're seeing on screen Michael Thomas, Justice of the Peace, Marcus Garvey awardee for the same Eternal Father Awards for 2022 in the area of community leadership. And his sons, joined by his sons, Dr. Kenyata Thomas, and he hosts an annual back to school free medical and dental initiative in his community. And I believe that's an amazing way to actually give back, utilizing what you have been blessed with in the medical field. He's joined by David Thomas, our Prime Minister Youth Awardee 2024. And we are just so proud of David for the amazing work that he continues to do in the area of nation building. And we'll hear some more about that in a little while. But listen, I've known JP Thomas. We were commissioned the same time, I believe, right, 30? Back in 2016 as Justice of the Peace, right? And we've worked on a number of projects over the years, and I've seen the work that they've done. I was at the opening of the resource center over there in Butner. Amazing work, the way the team came together and executed that event, really astounding. So as I shared before we came on screen, I know enough about JP Thomas, and he often shares about his sons, and I've been watching their journey, and I'm happy to highlight these gems that are among us that sometimes we might overlook, but we're no longer going to do that. So, Father Thomas, you've been actively engaged in community development. How have you balanced these responsibilities with raising your amazing sons? Talk to us.
Okay, first I want to thank you for inviting me on your international worldwide program.
Well, thank you for
Yes,
that.
I also want to congratulate my friend Clever. We share some similarity, and it just showed that one circumstances should not determine who you are, right? You asked the question. I think it's simple, just sacrifice, even at the expense of my own family. What is just sacrifice and the love of the people and to serve the community.
All right, and that is demonstrated in the work that you do. But how do you balance it? Because from all indications, you've been able to provide guidance to your sons while you're doing all of that. For the father looking on, that's saying that, boy, I have to pay attention to the children and make sure that I grow them up in the way they ought to grow. And so I can't get involved in community work. Tell them how you've been able to do both.
I think this could not have been possible without God Himself. It is a part of what I do. My work, the work that I've done within the community, it's more likely wanting to inspire and to change lives. My passion is about uplifting others. My wife, I have to make mention of her because she had given me that opportunity and that privilege to be who I am. And it's a matter of understanding on both sides. What I normally do is after extended hours at work, when I come home, I do some night work. So if one follow me on my WhatsApp or whatever, they will realize that I hardly sleep because the time is short and there is not enough time to do all of these things. So I make the sacrifice in terms of taking away some of my rest to give back to the general public.
That's indeed a sacrifice. And I'm happy that you mentioned Lady Thomas because I see her at every official function cheering you on in the background. And it's really amazing that you have that kind of bond. Yes. That's really exemplary for other families to emulate. What values would you say you intentionally instilled in your children? Because you have more than 2 children. It's just that we are familiar with Kenyata and David as in terms of community service. But share with us.
In fact, I have 6 boys, namely Markland, Marlon, Michael, Kenyata, David, and Joshua. These boys, they have given me the desire to continue to prove to the world that being a father, being a parent, it's not just to get the kids and that's it. It's about responsibility. And I also make myself available. But one of the things that I often look at, in the Bible it said, one should honor thy mother and thy father, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. And I see, as a child, respect and discipline and all the others. It is what will allow you as an individual to go forward in life.
Indeed. And Marlon is here. Hi, Marlon. This is the same Marlon I met, right? Sochi?
Yes.
All right. Greetings, Marlon. Thank you for joining and saying hello. All right. So, what does it mean to you as a father, 30, seeing your sons, Kenyata and David, actively contributing to nation building to the extent that David actually holds the Prime Minister's Youth Award for that area for 2024?
It just shows that they are probably following in my footsteps. And as you know, for most people, they often say that volunteerism is basically dead. Nobody knows how to volunteer. So to see them stepping up to the plate as a young individual, not being paid for what they are doing, but trying to help others to reach to their level and even higher. It brings joys to me. I feel on top of the world to know that they are giving back, realizing where they are coming from, and the community itself, where they grow up, they live, they see all their bad things that happen, but yet they were able to remain focused and to work towards their goals. So they are an example to others within the community and its environment, and whoever they come in contact with.
Fantastic. And who wouldn't be proud as a father? And Romeo is saying congratulations again, David, and sending blessings to the Thomas family. All right. Let's bring you all in the conversation. Kenyata, I mentioned earlier that you give back to your home community through the annual fair. How has your father's example influenced your approach to service?
Good night, everyone. Well, as you can see, he's a very strict person, very disciplined person, and I believe in everything. You have to be disciplined. You have to finish whatever you set out to do. So, in terms of service, sometimes it's not very rewarding. You may think that nobody is recognizing the work, but you have to stay focused. You have to be disciplined. Just do what you have to do. And that is one of the things that I apply to service as well as my life. You just have to be focused, have faith, and be disciplined in whatever you do.
Indeed, and it has been very obvious, Kenyata, because when I first came across the initiative that you have each year, that is what I saw coming out. David, was it you that submitted that piece? It was featured in an editorial some years ago.
For the back to school?
Yes.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, yes, I think that's the first time I actually came across it, and I was like, wow, this is just so amazing. I love when our young people really do this passionate work, because our team mentioned earlier, and one thing I observed, most of your sons' names are biblical. That stood out. Except Kenyata, very close though, you know.
Yeah.
Right, so that's something, and it's a big part of volunteerism. We might not see it, but that's the biggest part of the gospel that we can share.
Yes.
in a practical way for others to see. Blessings, Kadira Killing Beck sends blessings there. All right, Kenyata. So you'll be hosting the fair this year again. It's an annual event.
Yes. Yes, I'll be hosting the fair again this year.
Yes, okay, fantastic. What can we expect from the fair? Any increase in numbers in terms of those you intend to serve, who are on board? Who do you want to come on board at this point?
Over the years, we have seen an increase in the number of people that turn out to the event. So I'm expecting that it's going to be more than last year. And I don't really put a cap on it. It hasn't reached to that number as yet. But for the time period that I'm there, whoever comes, you see those people. I get help from my colleagues, and we do what we can on the day. So we expect a good turnout, and we're ready for this summer.
All right. Do you have a date set?
No, not as yet.
Okay, but it's usually in which month? August?
In August.
In August. All right. So let us know as soon as you have the date set and share it in this space so others can be reminded of it and come on board to join in. So is it just your colleagues in Clarendon, or because I know sometimes you all pull on your team from Kingston to come on down and support?
In terms of the medical aspect.
Medical.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's usually just my colleagues.
From Clarendon?
From Clarendon, yes.
Okay, fantastic. Awesome job. Because I know that you all work extra time at the hospital, and for you to dedicate time to give back, I think that is absolutely amazing. Keep on doing what you're doing. The rewards will come, right? It might not come back to you, but who knows? It might come back to your next generation and the next generation if the world lasts that long. So the gift that keeps on giving. All right. David, let's hear from you. Congratulations again on receiving the Prime Minister's National Youth Award for Excellence in Nation Building. What fuels your passion for service, David?
Well, what fuels it? So my fuel my passion for service is just to be able to give back to others. As my father was saying that every time that he does something, then eventually I'm drawn into it, and so by de facto I'm doing that service as well. So he might stop to help out somebody and call to say come along and follow me, but then it ends up I'm finishing that thing that he started. So ever since then, that's something that has been happening, and the reward from it and seeing that you're actually helping someone who is actually in need and you're actually making a difference, I take that on to say, based on the environment that I'm in, the community that I'm in, what are certain things that I can do to make an impact and to give back to my community? Because I was there for most of my life, up in my 20s since I was one. So that's my home. And it's now to have that same environment and to pull someone up and just not leave from that space and leave it as it was. So that's the motivation to continue to pour back into the community to make it a better place for everyone there.
Indeed. And the scripture just came to mind. If I could help someone along this life's way, then my living shall not be in vain. Because we're only here for what a while, and we are blessed to be a blessing. So whatever gifts we receive, it's not for us. Gifts are supposed to be given. And so we use them to help others. And I am just so amazed by what you all are doing. All right. Romeo is sharing that the initiative that Kenyata does even accept students from Palmer's Cross. Fantastic. So, David, you are not just Prime Minister's Youth Awardee. You're also a Governor General, I believe, ambassador. How
Yes, I am.
important is strong fatherly guidance in shaping future leaders?
So in 2020, I became a IB ambassador, and that was part of the Governor General Program of Excellence, the GGPE, and I became an ambassador for the parish of Clarendon. Within that organization, they taught us three things. One is that family is one of the pillars. The second pillar is looking at education. And the third one, which is very important, is family. So learning from that and seeing the teachings and how persons are able to connect on these three different levels allow me to know that, okay, this system is working, and the motto or the theme that is using what's wrong, well, using what's right with Jamaica to fix what's wrong with Jamaica. So from that teaching and seeing a lot of influential persons and a lot of persons doing wonderful things in their communities, in nationally, internationally, it allows me to see that, okay, this is something that I can build on, this is something I can learn from. And seeing the work that my dad has been doing, so he wear many hats now. He's a JP, he's also president of the local organization. So he's doing a lot of things, and that has helped shape other young men and other persons. So I believe that as an IB ambassador, I am somewhat tasked with the duty to ensure that in everything that I do, I can allow someone to see that impact and to build in the end a better Jamaica. So that's the aim that I'm aiming for. And I think that as I do my little steps, I have to reflect and see what God is doing in my life. And I believe that that can be an example, because that's the only thing that you can do at this stage, to show someone that I'm in the same situation as you, and this is how it is done. So let me pave the way, or let me help you to get on this path as well. So I think that within these organizations and having a lot of father figures in there, then it has helped to shape men now becoming fathers or existing fathers to do better for themselves and their family.
Fantastic. All right. We have one of your family members saying they're proud of the family. Which member of the family is this? Angelita?
That's mom.
That's Mama G. Hi, Mama G.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a proud mama. Fantastic. All right. All right. So we've heard from the Browns and the Thomas says, let's bring them back on. We're going to have a group reflection now, because we want to ensure that when we leave here, this conversation don't just stop here. We want to be generating additional discussions in other places, in your church group, your community group, in your families, to see how we can be a part of the change that we want to see, because these fathers are leading by examples. You've heard it from the children, how their fathers have impacted their life, the decisions they make, and how important that is. So let's hear from the fathers first, and then the children about the advice you would give to fathers or father figures raising the next generation of nation builders, because that's what we want. We have two Eternal Father awardees here, so we are talking about nation building. That's what we are reflecting on. So what advice would you give to fathers or father figures raising the next generation of nation builders? Claver and then Sir T. Sir Brown.
All right. I would say be very observant, right? Be very observant with your child. Watch, try to identify their strong points and areas that they are weak in, while supporting the areas that they are strong in. You work on the weak areas. Like I'm going to give you an example. I identified from early that my daughter was weak in maths. So I make sure I find every maths class to send her to. She can tell you, she don't get any Saturday, any Sunday
It's true.
or any holidays. No summer holidays, straight maths. So that is what I did to ensure that she got the education that she needed. So
Fantastic. And I remember the boot camp. 30, your advice?
Effective father.
Oh, sorry about that. Go ahead, 30.
Yes, I was saying, my advice to our fathers and prospective fathers is just to remain focused. And I would just use this word. When one's shame is heavy, never let shames win. There are times when a father might be struggling, and because he's ashamed and he doesn't want person to know that he's having some challenges, he just stayed away. But I want fathers who have challenges to use those situations as a stepping stone to move forward. Um, Being a father, it's about responsibility. So if you are thinking about being a parent, the first thing you have to think about is what comes along with being a parent. You have to think about the well-being of the child, which is food, shelter, education, and all the others. If you are not prepared to do all of these, then wait until you're able to do so. Because at the end of the day, we don't want fathers or person to just go out and just get children without being there for them. And one of the things you have to do is to make sacrifice. There are times when you have to deny yourself of certain things just to make sure that your children or your child get a better future. I would also want to say to our parents, there are times when you're not intellectual, you're not able to read and write, and because of that, you somehow tell yourself that my father, my parents didn't spend much on me in terms of education, so I am not going to. I want to big up all of the fathers who are unable to read and write, but they make sure that education for their child is a priority. So I just want to encourage our young people, especially, to just remain focused. And as I said, the community where I'm from, everybody know, Buckner Rectoland, there's a stigma that is there. We want to change that. We want to give people the opportunity to fish instead of we giving an individual a fish, right? So what I want for my child, I want it for other boys and girls within the community. And that is why I do what I do. And if you do a survey within the community, they would tell you that I go the extra mile to make sure. Some of the time they fan you off, but you know exactly what you are working towards. Because oftentimes we say these boys are bad and we must put them one side. No, we are living within the same space. And if you ignore them or you just put them aside, they are the same one who is going to come back at you. So we want to change life and inspire our young people as a good father.
Amazing. Well said. All right. And little brother Joshua is here. He's declaring blessing on the family. Welcome, Joshua. All right. So let's hear from our young people on that. What else would you say in terms of advice that you'd give to fathers? Because you're being guided by fathers and they've been doing a decent job with you. And so share with the fathers what their children might be looking to them for in terms of guidance. Clevena,
Okay,
and then Kenyata and David.
thank you. I think I would tell fathers to be patient with your children, because as we navigate, through the different phases and stages of life, we look for a variety of different things. For example, I know that when you're much younger, you need a lot of validation from your father, especially as a daughter. You need a lot of validation from your father. You tell your daughter that you're pretty, you're beautiful before you go to school, and all these different things, because they might encounter a lot of different things when they leave home and they go to school. Because as a father, you are the person who is your child's safe haven. You're their safe place, and you need to be able to adapt to different things that they might need from you. For example, when you move on to high school now, you're necessarily looking for someone who can give you greater advice, who can probably guide you when it comes on to how you should probably approach schoolwork and how you should probably navigate, your subjects, different thing. You're looking for someone to speak to you about the choices that you're going to make. You're looking for a person who can be a mentor to you. And at university, that requires a different level of communication from your parent. So I would say to a father, appreciate the different phases and stages that your child will go through, and learn to be there and adapt with them throughout it all.
Thank you, Kenyata, and then David.
All right. My advice would be to lead by example. I feel like having positive role model, at least for me, it helps shaping the way how I approach life. And I think the fathers and the father figures out there, once you lead by example, children are impressionable. If you give them a good example to follow, then they're going to stay on that path. So just lead by example, ensure that you're instilling all the good qualities that they're going to need to take through life. Yeah, that's my advice for tonight.
All right. David, let's hear from you.
Okay, so my advice to the fathers would be understand that whatever it is that you're teaching your child is a matter of perspective. So you have to give them that teaching in a way that they can understand it. So if you have someone and you give them a piece of paper and they have no use for it, they will throw it away. But if it is that they need to record something and they have a piece of paper, then they'll be able to record what they need to record. So in a nutshell, I'm saying that unless a child understands what it is that you're trying to allow them to get, then they won't get it. So it's a matter of perspective, and it's a matter of allowing them to understand through their own way and not through your way. So you'd have to look at those perspectives and give that message in a way that the child can receive it and that's useful to them.
Thank you for that. And going back to the fathers, how can we continue to support and uplift fathers who are committed to being present, positive role models, especially those quietly doing the work behind the scenes? What more can we do? Sir T and then Sir Brown.
All right. I think one of the things that we can do as individuals is to look at the needs. When you do an assessment of your community, you look at the needs, and then you try and get some assistance in terms of sponsorship. All right. For example, there's a number of young people within this space who drop out from school. Some of them didn't have a role model. They didn't have a father figure who thinks about their needs and stuff like that. And as such, they drop out along the way. What we are trying to do is to encourage those individuals to come into the program. We have a homework center there, and we have coming up in July 7th to the 17th, we'll be having our summer school program. And we also intend to implement an adult reading program to see how best we can change the mind. If you're able to change the minds of these persons around you, it will drift them away from crime and violence. Because at the end of the day, crime and violence, there is no payday in crime and violence. So we try to find ways and means how we can engage them in sports, in training, in terms of our trust NTA. Those are some of the things that we try to do to get them involved so that they'll be able to be a better person within the space.
Fantastic. I love that. So it's not just the fathers, but it's a 360-degree approach. So you see the father trying, but
Right.
the children falling along the way. You help the children so that it takes some of the pressure off the fathers, and help the fathers too. As I mentioned earlier, some might not be able to read and write. Love that. Amazing. All right. Claverton Brown. Anything else that you'd do to support those fathers?
I would say by recognizing more fathers through initiatives like these.
Oh.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So they can feel, appreciated, probably throughout the different communities. We can keep some events and recognize them, give them a little trophy or plaque so that they can feel, they can feel appreciated.
Yeah, true.
I love that.
Yes, ma'am.
And something tells me that JP Thomas is going to start something in Botna,
In fact, we have some plan to not only awarding young people, but there are a number of professionals within the Botna community, and we want to highlight them and to give them some form of recognition. So we have some plans for those persons who have been working hard over the years, and we have some plans, but you will hear about them.
All right, looking forward, because they said encouragement sweetens labor. So you want to get them to do more, pour more into the children. You have to provide that nurturing environment. Because remember, some of the fathers didn't get the nurturing from early, so we have to help to support that. And the one thing I noticed this year when I was going through is that Clarendon was not in the list of parishes for the parish award for the fathers. So through the community groups, we can make sure that happens. So we give the Eternal Father Awards Committee some extra work to do. I'm sure they won't mind it, because I'm sure they'd want to see entries coming through from all the parishes. That's why they have these awards. And I just love the context that they provide these awards in. All right.
I would just want to say to the Eternal Father organization, Miss Anna Simit, we want to thank you for coming up with that idea of recognizing Father. And as Clever had said, it gives them a feeling of being, satisfied or something of that nature. So I want to congratulate her. Also, I just want to say to the sponsor, it would be remiss of me not to recognize the sponsors who have supported us over the year. The time is short to really call all the names, but I want to thank all the sponsors who have been supporting our programs over the years. And we appreciate you, and we know what whatever positivity come from Buckner, you also can own it. That is what we're working towards.
Fantastic. Love that. Markland Christie, congrats, Dad, and to my brothers, Ken and David. All right. Thank you for that. All right, let's get our young people in. You're gonna have to weigh in on this one. What else can we do for the dads in terms of upliftment and support for the hard work that they do, especially those who are quietly doing the work behind the scenes and might feel a little forgotten, unappreciated? We're starting with David, then Kenyata, then Clevena.
Well, for me, what they can do is acknowledge the fathers more. So in anything that is keeping, and I don't think that it should only be when you have major events or Father's Day that these fathers are awarded. So I think more initiatives can be geared towards father, son, father, daughter activities to get more fathers involved and to give them more incentive to go and push on so that they can see the work that they're doing and they can recognize and persons can recognize the work that they're doing, because there are a lot of unsung heroes out there doing a lot of work, and I believe that if some time is taken to just recognize them in very small way, then that would make a big impact for them. So it can be an appreciation day, it can be getting them some ice cream or something that just shows some appreciation and not just make it an annual thing or surrounded around Father's Day. And doing those things throughout the year can highlight these fathers and encourage them to continue to push on and continue to do more.
Well said, Kenyata.
Well, I think the answer is really in the question. So we need to uplift them and we need to support them. So how we do that, we encourage them, we recognize them for what they're doing, because a lot of times these fathers, they put in the work day in, day out. They don't complain. They're present, but they're not recognized enough. So I think we need to let them feel good. Tell them, hey, we see you. Thank you for what you're doing. So they can have that feel good factor to continue whatever they're doing. So we need to uplift their spirits. And in terms of support, we need to put things in place, because a lot of fathers out there who want to be better for their child, we need to have things in place to support them. So when they want answers, when they need direction and guidance, they should know where to turn and who to go to. So we need to have those things in place for them, so that when they want to better themselves, we're there to support them in that respect.
All right, Clevena.
Thank you. So I was thinking we could have sessions, you could probably call it Fathers First community sessions, and that could be a collaboration with the Child Protection Family Services Agency or even the Social Development Committee. And we keep it monthly or even quarterly. And in these sessions in communities within our parish, we can have moments where we empower our fathers and we educate them upon like stuff like emotional availability. So they'll be able to learn how to show up for their children, how to also manage stress from work, all of those different pressures that come with being a father, as well as we can promote and spotlight the fathers who are doing amazing jobs within the communities. And we could have that space of empowerment for them, because I find that a lot of fathers, they get carried away in the whole idea, or would I say stigma, of just showing up financially, having those things together to be a father. But what about the emotional aspect of it all that comes with getting up every day, the mental weight that they carry? If we can have community sessions for them, I think that would be amazing.
I love the thought process that's going into this. So many different elements, and I love that we're able to get some answers and some solutions going forward. Kenyata, this is the Serenity Resource Connector for a specific reason. So there are a lot of resources that they can get access to here from time to time. We have different segments. So if you have some fathers who are creative and they want to find out what's going on JCDC that they can be a part of, we have Culture Corner on first Thursdays right here. And bringing back David in, right outside of Culture Corner, we have the Community Corner here, where we share stories and they can learn from others, like I'm sure others are learning from you here. And even after we leave here, you'll have others tuning in, will be able to learn from you. And some communities are going to be running with some of these ideas that you have shared here to implement in their spaces. And I'm always happy for that. You have community safety and security, where a lot of information is shared in terms of dealing with domestic violence and all of those different areas. So, and we have the highlights on the website. They can go and check for direct resources, numbers to call, the mental health hotline for men, different from women and children. All of that are there. So feel free to share that so others can get access to the information. Almost 4 years in this space, so there's a wealth of resources there. No, I am just burning with the desire to make sure that more people get access to the resources, so more lives can be changed. So help me to help them. And thank you for helping me to help them, all right? Charlotte Rowe, congrats to Mr. Thomas. I always admire his resilience towards education. Continue to inspire and be a blessing. I'm not sure what that emoji is, but thank you, Charlotte Rowe. And let me thank you all, the Browns, Claverton and Clevena Brown. Oh my goodness, some sharp awardee 2025. The Thomases, Michael Thomas, JP, Marcus Garvey, awardee 2022, community leadership. David Thomas, Kenyata Thomas, and the family in the comments. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And I am sure that your stories, your gems that you have shared here will be an inspiration to others. And I invite those who are tuned in live, those who are watching the replay, to share this so others can benefit from what was shared here. And the conversation can continue. And again, we also endorse congratulating the Eternal Father Awards Committee for the awesome work that they're doing. I am going to be doing some more checks to see the different areas, because when I saw the award, I was so impressed, honoring fathers who bless our land. And it takes me back to our powerful Eternal Father, bless our land, guide us with your mighty hand. It's just so powerful. And if we just get the message behind that, it is just, we can move mountains in this nation. If we all come on board and just commit to pledging our hands and our heart to be a part of service to our fellow citizens. Listen, I remember that part stuck with me from primary school. And it took me years before, but I finally come full circle to being a part of the change that I want to see in my beautiful island home. Such a powerful and necessary initiative. Indeed, Kadira Killingbeck. Thank you so much for sharing throughout the live. Thank you for those who commented. It keeps the engagement going here, and it's all about being part of the community. So just continue to spread the word, be an inspiration. And you too be inspired, because we all need that extra inspiration from time to time, even those who are inspiring, so that we can remain inspired to inspire others, to keep on inspiring. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Let me thank you all again for sharing with us.
Thank you for
Lorna is so
Thank
proud
you
of her nephew and niece. This Auntie Lorna from Canada.
From England.
It's England. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Auntie Lorna, for tuning in. Always a pleasure to be able to highlight. And I've taken on the challenge. This is the beginning of more to come, because I believe that we need to actually empower our men just as much as we empower our women. All right. So make sure that we create space. The youth have asked for their own slot, and we have been carrying that mantle on second Tuesday. So now I believe it's time for us to create a space for the men where we share their stories, and so that they too can be poured into and be able to pour into others. With that said, let me bid you all a fantastic rest of the night and encourage you to subscribe if you have not yet subscribed to the channel. We do this every Thursday, God's willing, at 8 p.m. On second Tuesday, we have our Youth Empowerment Forum. And on third Tuesdays, it's time for our little people. We are doing a Child Rights Series 2025 with the Early Childhood Commission. And we had a very engaging conversation that we intend to continue beyond Tuesday evening, where we shared some of the signs that you look for where it comes on to child labor. So if you did not see that one, the playlist is there, or you can go on over to the Serenity Resource Connector website to catch the highlights and then catch up on the details as to how you can be a part of recognizing the signs. We're talking to fathers, parents, and our young leaders, recognizing the signs and helping these children so they can grow up to be sound, mentally sound individuals to be a part of nation building. Thanks again. Have yourself a fantastic rest of the night.
The SRC Community Corner Live Forum is brought to you on third Thursdays at 8 p.m. Visit our website at www.serenityresourceconnector.com and subscribe to receive our weekly blog post. Join us again on Thursday at 8 p.m. for our local governance live forum with the Clarendon Municipal Corporation. Thank you for watching.